Welcome to the Feminine Mistake Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Nicole, and today I am joined by
Hillary, Sarah, and Jasmine.
On today's Lady Bits, we tackle the question of whether women directors and artists of color receive fair and equal criticism when compared to other similar films in their genre. Let's get into it.
Oh, you men are all alike. 7 or 8 quick ones and you're off with the boys to boast and brag. You better keep your mouth shut.
Okay, welcome to our Lady Bits segment. And during Lady Bits, during our new Lady Bits, the new vajazzled Lady Bits.
Yes.
We talk about a topic about women in film. And today I was struck by something related to this film that we've been discussing this month, Wrinkle in Time. And I thought it would be a good topic for this. So what I've got for us today is I want to talk about, there's two parts to this. The first part is I always like to look up the Rotten Tomatoes score of a movie, like usually before I go, because I don't have a lot of time to go to movies. Yeah. So Chris and I often won't see anything that's rated below like a 65. We just won't.
Why would you?
Because it's usually garbage.
Yeah.
I didn't have a chance to see the score before I went to the movie because it didn't matter because I was going to see it anyways. So I got home, looked it up, and it was 41%,
Yeah.
which I personally found to be shockingly low.
I found this movie about 41% entertaining.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Before we get into the second part, I don't want to argue whether or not the movie was great because I feel like we discussed that. My thing that I want to talk about is did this movie get a fair shake? Because there's some debate as to whether the white male dominated critics give movies that are directed by women or that are female protagonists get a good fair shake. How does this is this movie rated fairly compared to other movies in its category?
I was gonna say, do you have things that are rated about the same as them? Because then I can.
Okay, so let me get down. So these are all movies that I looked up today. So again, 41% is the score.
Oh, sorry.
So
it's 41%.
41% is the score for this film from Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
And for those of you out there who don't know what I'm talking about, I think most people do. Rotten Tomatoes is a site that sort of compiles reviews from multiple sources and then bases a score for the movie based on how many people reviewed it positively or negatively. So that's where they come up with that score. So I have all of these movies that I'm about to tell you I have seen and have an opinion on because they're all children's movies. So let me read off a whole bunch of movies that got a better score than this. Number 1 at 44% is the film Angry Birds.
Wow.
No fucking way.
Angry Birds is a movie based on the video game.
It's not
Angry
even
Birds.
a video game. It's a game on your phone.
It's a phone game.
That's true. It's a phone game. Now, I will say this.
It started on Facebook, I believe.
The boys love Angry Birds, the movie, and they fucking watch it all the time. There are some clever moments. Was it better than this movie? I'm going to have to say no.
Probably not. I haven't
I
seen
haven't
it.
seen it.
It's not as ambitious. It's not as moving.
Probably not.
It's not. By the way, all these
it's not
movies.
as moving. I'm shocked.
By the way, all of these movies were directed by men. By the way.
Okay, great. Keep
All
going.
right.
At 52%, Boss Baby.
No.
I
didn't even
smacked
see-
your
I
mic
didn't see
down.
that.
Like, I literally had to stop myself.
Jasmine just
because I've
almost
seen
ripped my
half
apartment
of
apart.
fucking
I've seen Boss Baby.
Oh, man.
And
I haven't seen
not
it.
good.
stopped because it was that much
Isn't
trash.
that Alec
It's trash.
Baldwin?
Alec Baldwin is the voice. Like the movie.
It's like
doesn't
Alec
even fucking
Baldwin
make
as.
sense.
I
It's kind of like Alec Baldwin playing Trump as a baby.
Right.
That's what I would call it.
Yes.
Wow.
That would be my log
That's
line.
what the ads looked like, and I was like, I'm not into
Yeah.
it.
I can't breathe.
I don't
Jasmine.
watch
Yeah,
Don't let it get worse than what you just said.
Also,
I will hit this
Also,
mic.
I would
though.
tell you, I would like to say that I think Angry Birds is better than Boss Baby. I'm just going to throw that out there. I've seen Angry Birds like 100. I actually had to watch it again today because Elliot wanted to watch Angry Birds. They love the part where the bird, played by Jason Sudeikis. Jason Sudeikis plays the red bird,
Okay.
and he falls
Oh,
out of a
that
tree and hits his nuts a bunch of times. And
That sounds
Lucas
right.
cannot get
his nuts?
his bird nuts.
Yeah.
The bird now.
His
And
little
Lucas-
bird legs
Birdseed.
probably spread out
his
along the
birdseed.
branch.
Hannibal Buress, Kate McKinnon, these are all people that do voices in
I'm
this
sorry, these people are in this movie?
movie. Yeah. It's
They
actually
probably
Bill
did that in a
Hader,
weekend.
Danny McBride. Peter Dinklage. This is all in Angry Birds.
Oh my
Look,
god.
Angry
I'm
Birds is not
upset.
the worst movie
These
I've
people
ever had to
don't
see.
need this
Peter
money this
Dinklage.
badly, but
Peter
also
Dinklage plays the Mighty Eagle.
God, you know, if somebody offered me a couple thousand to do like 2 days worth
Oh,
of
they were
voiceover
paid more
work,
than a
I'd do
couple
that.
they were
thousand.
paid a lot.
Oh, I know, but that's the thing is like I'd do it for a couple thousand. You know?
All right, so back to this. So Angry Birds and Boss Baby both got more highly rated than A Wrinkle in Time. At 54%, Ninjago.
I don't know.
Never
Never
seen
heard of it.
Never heard of it.
That's
Yeah.
because it's a movie based on Legos that are basically kind of like knockoffs. Like they're not about like most Legos are like Star Wars Legos or
Serious?
like like
Okay.
most Legos are like Star
It's
Wars
like an
Legos
off-brand
or
Lego
What?
movie.
yeah, it's like an off-brand Lego movie.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
That also has a series on Netflix that is terrible.
Okay.
So that's Ninjago.
Jasmine.
So it's not like Puffin Rock or
I'm taking this
the one
really
with the
poorly.
horses that I like. Friendship is Magic. What is that?
Oh,
one?
it's not My Little Pony. No, although I didn't look that one up because I haven't seen that movie. I've
Yeah.
just seen the TV
It's
show.
fun to get stoned and watch those sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I used to get stoned and watch the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? If the Powerpuff
Okay.
Girls were around, that's what I would do.
At 63%.
At what
How much?
percent?
At 63%. Storks. Anybody seen or heard of Storks?
I've heard of it. Didn't
but
watch it.
Storks,
didn't see
again,
that.
Oh my
this is a
God.
movie I've seen. Lucas was obsessed with it.
Wow.
Storks is a movie starring Andy Samberg. It is about,
You mean starring Andy Samberg's voice?
yes, his
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
Starring Andy Samberg, it is about a delivery facility run by storks that used to deliver babies but now delivers Amazon type packages. And they
kind of a
find
good business
they
model.
accidentally turn on the machine, and a baby pops out, and they have to deliver that baby to its parents.
God, that's like my fucking nightmare. That is like an actual dream I have had.
Why?
That is
Why
a
was
nightmare.
this?
Question your
Why was this thought
subconscious.
up? Who thought this up, and why did
By
they
the way,
decide
Lucas
to make
loves
it?
this movie.
I just
Yeah.
need another movie that I know of that's trash.
Okay,
For me
Storks.
to punch someone in the face.
Storks is pretty bad. Okay, now I'm getting up to the higher rated movies that I honestly think these two films that I'm about to say suffer from a lot of the same problems as A Wrinkle in Time, and that
Okay.
I think this movie falls way more into their range than 41%. One is called The Spiderwick Chronicles.
Heard of it.
I
Didn't
haven't
watch
seen
it.
it.
It's
but heard
also
of it.
based on a book series.
Yeah, I read the book series.
It had similar things where the writing was like not great. The effects were laughably bad. Like not even like this where the effects where you were kind of like, I don't like the design of that. These were like really bad effects.
Okay.
So the Spiderwick Chronicles got 80%. Here's the one that I think really applies. This might be controversial. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
I saw
Oh,
your
wow.
note and I was like,
74%.
Movie.
Fantastic Beasts. I fucking love Harry Potter, and I think the movie was really beautiful, but it also was kind of about nothing, and I don't
Yeah.
think the characters had
Okay.
memorable relationships, and I don't remember what the fuck happened in that movie because
Yeah.
it honestly wasn't very memorable.
It was about nothing, but it was at least well acted. I didn't feel manipulated by any scenes.
I didn't
to
feel any emotions at all.
I felt no
I know, but that's
emotions.
fine. I'd rather feel no emotions than feel manipulated. I don't know.
Fantastic Beasts got 74%.
Okay.
Do you think it's more than
Hearing-
twice as good as
No,
this movie?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
And I mean, hearing all of these reviews, 41% is a little low. I also don't base too much off of Rotten Tomatoes. Like I had heard
But
about
people
the score, and I
do.
was like, that
People
sucks.
make decisions about whether
No,
to see a movie
yeah.
on that.
Like you.
Like me, usually.
But I don't know. It was a bad movie.
It was a bad movie.
It
wasn't.
maybe
I wouldn't
doesn't-
say it was bad. I would say it wasn't great.
It was meh.
Here's the thing. In
was
the
meh.
context you have put it in, I get what you're saying.
It's not worse than Boss Baby.
No, I get what you're saying. In the context you've put it in, like when I hear 41%,
Jasmine's speechless.
when I just hear 41% and then watch this movie, I'm like, yeah, it seems about right. But when you put it in that perspective of like Boss Baby and all this other
Yeah.
shit, like that seems a bit absurd.
It seems absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also don't watch animated movies. Like I just don't. I don't watch any animated anything. Bob's Burgers is about as far as I get.
But that's
and I
what
really
I'm saying
don't
is
even
I've
watch
seen
that.
a ton of children's movies, and in the pantheon of
so-
children's movies I've seen, This was not terrible.
Right. I mean, all
I've seen a
animated
lot of
movies, in my
garbage.
opinion, are garbage. Like, I don't like animated movies.
Okay,
It's just, like, not my
Inside Out
thing.
is if
I
you don't
only
like
watch
I've never
in
seen it. I
Pixar.
just
you don't
don't
like
it.
Inside Out, you are
I
dead
don't
inside.
watch it. I've never seen it. I don't like animated movies.
Jasmine, do you have any
I
thoughts?
a full opinion. Was
Okay.
that the last one that you
That was
had?
the last one, and I would like to read some reviews, just 4 one-line reviews that I wanted you guys to chew on for a second. But let's tackle this
hold
first.
on. So my initial thought,
Jasmine seems
and I
exhausted
know
by
that
this.
people are going to be like me, and I kind of don't give a fuck. My initial thought, because I don't think it's 41%. Like, I don't think it's a great movie.
I don't
but
think
I would
so
give
either.
it more like even prior to knowing what outranked it, I would have given it closer to like a 50.
I would say
something.
It's more like in the range of 65 to 70.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would
honestly,
agree.
I would take a
Yeah.
60 something,
think
but like
it's at
I
least
wouldn't go
a-
to 70. But
Yeah.
with all those things considered,
it's at least a D plus.
my frustration at most I didn't see Fantastic Beast. I do know plenty of people who are really excited about it, and they were not appeased. Same
Yeah, it
thing
was
with
like
A
a
Wrinkle in
meh.
Time.
it was a man.
My issue with it is, to me, A Wrinkle in Time did something that people don't do. We had a
Agreed.
Yeah.
lot more black people in roles that weren't about them being black
Mm-hmm.
people.
Correct.
Whereas Fantastic Beast was full of fucking white people.
Yep.
Yep.
Super original.
Yep.
It's never done. Just white people everywhere. And it got a 70 something fucking percent. 2 movies that are not necessarily evenly matched, but closer.
But
All
about
of these
on par.
movies,
Right.
They're
I
about
actually,
on par.
and then
all
you
of these
mean
movies
it-
are full of white people.
Yeah, and that's
actually.
why, and that's why I was like, do you have any more? Because like I was like, I'm trying to not say that all of those movies have white people,
They are.
but they have
Yeah.
white
They're all
people.
full of white
So,
people,
like,
and they're all directed
part
by
of
white
me
men.
Is
Right.
wondering like, yeah, I think that the score probably potentially goes down because a woman directed it, but I think that it's honestly shot down the most because of its choice to use black people, which
Yep.
is super frustrating for me because if anything, that should have brought the score up.
Yeah.
Because one thing they did really well in the movie was made those characters. It did not matter that those characters were black.
No,
Which
Right.
they were just people
Never
living their
fucking
lives.
happens.
People who existed.
It never happens. Usually it's like, oh, she's black. It didn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where my frustration currently is. Give
It,
me
it,
give
it was
me
not a
things.
plot point. Like I feel like a
Right.
lot
Yeah.
of movies, black characters.
They didn't
it's like
even
a plot
mention
point.
The fact
that
that-
she was interracial.
No, they
Yeah,
didn't.
no.
They never mentioned it.
No.
But
It
I
was
have
brilliant.
I have this question too. Is do you think that it was rated lower because of the hype and because it's Ava and because it's such a visible film?
And it's based
Potentially,
on a book.
but
And
Fantastic
there's so
Beasts
much built up to it. I mean, no,
was
I
the same
agree.
space.
But, I mean, Fantastic Beasts is the same way, and like people were upset that Eddie Redmayne was cast. It was like a whole thing, and like people didn't like it. And I mean, I'm curious to see what happens with what's the next one that's coming out.
The Crimes of Grindelwald or something.
Yeah, and Johnny
'Cause
Depp
people
is
are
in
not
it.
happy
and
with-
I'm very torn as to whether I'm going to see it or not because Johnny Depp is in it, and like
Yeah,
I just
fuck
don't
that
think
guy.
that I can
Fuck
because like
that
I
guy.
won't watch Gary Oldman. I won't watch
Fuck that guy. Fuck those fucking domestic abusers.
Yeah, exactly. Like I won't watch a lot of movies with domestic abusers in it, and so it's. I have a problem with that, and like I love Harry Potter so much. It's been such a
Also-
great part of my childhood. But
Also, the first one was boring.
which one?
Fantastic Beasts. So I
yeah.
probably won't watch it because
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, eventually I'll watch it with my kids.
I think for
when
me,
it comes on
it's-
video.
Nifflers.
See, yeah, I think for
I don't
me
even
it's
remember
just
what the
magic
fuck
of
that
it.
is.
It's like for me, it brings me back to a part in my childhood that I really love.
I mean,
so
I love
enjoy
Harry
watching it.
Potter, and probably not as much as
But
you do
yeah, I
because
think
Star
it's
Wars is my
different,
thing.
right? I think
Like,
it's
I mean,
different.
it is different because I will watch a bad fucking Star Wars movie.
Right,
I will
exactly. I'll
because
watch a
it's
bad
still
Harry
a
Potter
Star
movie,
Wars
you know?
movie.
And
But
I think that-
also acknowledge that it's not. It's still not 2 times as good.
No,
as-
it is
as
not.
Wrinkle
and
in
that's what I was
Time.
about to say. Like for me, it's the same concept. Like A Wrinkle in Time to someone is like not their Harry Potter series, obviously, because not a series, but like it's their
favorite.
thing,
Yeah.
and it should be ranked the same way because it left things to be desired. It, you know, the magic
But
was
it
there. I
wasn't
think the magic was there.
abysmal.
Personally,
It wasn't a
Right.
failure. It was not
So-
a failure.
No, it was just boring.
And I'm like,
No
yeah,
more boring than
you can
Fantastic
be
Beasts.
disappointed in Ava DuVernay but like the other shit she did was based on race. Like Selma,
Yeah.
13th, like you can't base
Yeah.
this on that because it's not the
Yeah.
same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even the same genre.
Also,
It's not even
again, I want to
close.
argue that those 2 films she had probably more control over than this film, which was a big studio project. I'm just saying, like
Right.
that was.
Yeah.
There's. I guarantee you, she didn't have as much control over this as she did on those other films. It's the same with Ryan Johnson
me
in The Last Jedi. Like Ryan Johnson didn't have as much control over The Last Jedi as he would have over Brick or
Right.
you know, some of those other films that
I wanna
Looper
know
and
how
stuff.
upset I'm gonna get. I have a feeling I'm gonna get really upset when you start reading.
I don't want to upset you, but I do want to bring up some of these reviews. I
Do
have
it.
pulled what I call condescending reviews.
Okay.
I didn't pull the whole review. I just pulled the little blurb that is provided by Rotten Tomatoes. So this one, these are all men, by the way.
What?
All white men.
Surprise.
Here's the first one. The movie didn't connect me to the characters. You get what they're feeling, but it doesn't hit you. It's just a hop, skip, and jump. Okay, so far.
Okay, I
Seems
get
reasonable.
that so far.
Here's the line that really
Reasonable.
bothered me. Ava DuVernay bit off a bit more than she can chew here.
Oh, fuck that shit.
Ooh.
Fuck that shit.
I'm stuck behind this table.
Bit
I
off.
don't
Jasmine's
know how
gonna
to get out.
flip
Bit
a
off.
table.
I don't
Flip
know.
anything.
I
Bit
was
off,
trying to get
bit
out
off more
Don't
than
break
she
my
could
shit.
chew. Can you imagine somebody saying that about a male director who's had 2 Oscar-nominated films, right?
Yeah.
But
Two
they would
Oscar-nominated
they would
films?
never
I
fucking ever.
want to say 13th was. I'm
Oscar-
not
Oscar,
sure.
no, 13th definitely
It
was Oscar nominated for an Oscar.
Then,
Yeah.
Yeah, then yes.
Okay, moving on. This is Bob Mondello from NPR. Director Ava DuVernay has a light touch in these early scenes, though she gets seriously bogged down in special effects as the film goes on. It's almost like her fragile female
Bogged
brain
down.
can't wrap herself
Jasmine
around
is
it.
like, I'm tuning you out.
Sorry, I don't want to upset people. I just feel like
No,
this
I
is
was-
what I'm talking about.
I was
Yeah.
actually just because I screenshot something
Yeah.
about her, and I was trying to remember what it was, and it was that she was the first African American woman to win the Sundance Film Festival.
That's
award.
incredible.
So
That's great.
Yeah.
that's it.
Here's another one. It's all rendered hopelessly flat by DuVernay, who bites off more than she can chew.
God
Again,
damn
that's
it.
the second
What is
person.
this? What is
Two.
bites off more
Two.
than she can chew? Have you seen 13th? I'm sorry, if you're biting off more than you can chew, it is the American prison system. Like,
Yeah.
what?
So there's this. This is the last one that I just found baffling. Awkwardly shot at times, clumsily acted occasionally, grotesquely sincere throughout, but with some pleasingly jarring visuals, and a fine Keystone performance from Chris Pine. You're modulating the microphones.
Fine Keystone performance by
Yeah, the one
Chris
person
Pine.
he
Let me see
chooses
that
to
again.
acknowledge. I didn't make this up. This is an actual review. The only person he chooses to acknowledge in the film is the white man that's in the movie. I'm just saying.
I think the Keystone performance
I'm
was
just
Meg.
saying.
grotesquely sincere.
Yeah.
Pleasingly jarring.
Visual.
God.
Gugu had
A
less
key-
time on screen than Chris
And
Pine,
she was so compelling.
much fucking better.
so compelling.
And he's
Yeah.
a Keystone?
He's a Keystone. Maybe a Keystone cop. I don't know.
I would call him maybe a Keystone Light, one of those shitty beers you drink when you're out of like PBR.
It wasn't even Chris Pine's best performance, I would say.
And it
yeah.
wasn't about him.
It wasn't about him at all.
what?
He was
The
in like the
fuck?
last act.
So, okay. So, given that,
Jasmine's face. I just
Given
want
that.
I just
I'm
want to like
upset.
take a picture. and just,
that's
like,
what I'm
post it.
talking
Are
about.
there
I don't
pictures
think
next
this,
to those comments. Please
Yes.
tell me they're all white men.
they all are
Oh,
white.
yeah,
they're all
white
they're all
men.
white
I
men.
don't even need to look at
Okay,
them.
it's all white men. Yep.
She's like, I know what they look like. I've seen them before.
They're all bland-looking white men.
I mean,
They're not even interesting looking
which
white men.
only allows me to make my comment, which is like it's not just a feminist. Like it's
Yeah.
not just about women. It's about everything that Ava DuVernay stands for at that
Yeah.
point. It's the fact that she's black. It's the fact that she's a
Mm-hmm.
woman. It's the fact that she's trying to put those things into
Yep.
her work,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
that's gonna
I'm
be
sorry.
cut
I
down.
feel terrible that I've
You shouldn't. I'm glad that we're
Rained
bringing it up
on-
because
brought this rain
like,
cloud
I feel
in
bad
here.
that we spiked all of our mics when we
Yeah,
yeah.
It's
Sorry.
okay. Well, it'll just go
That'll
in
be
there
fun
like
for you to
that. It
edit
was a
later.
genuine
I had
reaction.
to lean back. I apologize. I leaned back late.
I'm glad it's not just me because I read those and I was like, this is fucked up.
Like enraged.
Well, there was just so many good actors
Yeah.
in that. First of all,
So
again,
many.
What is that man? The one that was principal. I can't remember his name now. The one
He
that
was
in
really
Moonlight,
great.
the
I
light-skinned
can't
black
remember
guy.
his name either, but
He
he
was
was
in-
really
He
fantastic.
was in Moonlight. He's
Yeah.
fucking phenomenal. He was a great actor. And
Meg,
he did well.
the girl who played Meg was
was
so
amazing.
good.
Was
She
great.
did
So good.
great the entire time.
And in a lot of these reviews, they did praise her performance. So again, I handpicked these reviews as the most condescending ones, but they weren't
the
difficult
fact
to
that
find.
they even exist, though, is what's the
They
issue.
weren't difficult
the
to
fact
find.
that someone has the nerve, the gall,
Two different
To-
white men said
to
she bit off
compliment-
more than she can chew.
Yeah, but like, and also to compliment Chris Pine
Out
in a
of
movie
everyone,
full of good
Black
actors.
people?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
the fuck?
I also
Yeah.
just really like picturing somebody like she made a documentary series about the American prison system, and then she went on to follow that up with a lighthearted comedy about Martin Luther King Jr. and his struggle for civil rights. And, this Madeline L'Engle book, more than she can chew.
More than she can
This
chew.
children's movie
That's
More
because
than
they
fun
didn't
ladies
watch
in an
Selma
alternative
or
dimension.
fucking 13.
I'm sure they did.
Oh
Well,
my
maybe they.
God.
I don't know.
And
I
not
don't know.
for reasons why, like, I didn't
They
watch
probably,
it
like-
because of their hubby.
They
didn't
probably
watch it because they
reviewed
didn't
it and
fucking
gave it
watch
the best white man reviews they can, saying that like it was such a pivotal piece because they didn't want to seem like fucking racist.
I mean-
and then the first time they can actually critique a work because it's not racially charged, they're allowed to say this is a piece of crap just because they can because a black.
There were
woman
literally
directed it.
people
and
who
it's not
said
about
that
Martin
this
Luther
movie
King.
was a complete failure or Disney should be embarrassed. Like I read reviews like that I didn't include because they didn't seem as overtly condescending. But I was like, this movie's not a
Here's the thing,
failure.
it's
like
not a
it's not a
great movie.
failure.
It's not
that's
great.
that's
Disney has
fucking
made
I'm not
worse
gonna
melodramatic.
watch it.
Disney's made way worse movies.
way
Fuck
worse.
yeah.
This makes me want to go to like the movie theater and just like for a straight fucking week keep buying tickets and
Right?
watching this movie just so that their box office doesn't go down, because it's not a bad enough movie for it to be treated the
I agree.
way that it's
100%.
being
And-
treated.
And
Like,
honestly,
It's in the it's in the middle. It's like a meh. It's
Right.
not
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
It's not
it's not
great.
something awful that I will never watch again, but it's
And-
not something great that I'm going to go seek out.
Yeah.
as far as Disney movies go as well, like Disney's been problematic for a long time. And we all know that. Disney movies, not just like the ones that you can name off the top of your head, like the princess movies, but like their movies as a whole have been kind of racist. And they've ignored that. And then to finally have this sort of step outside of that is commendable in and of itself, you know? And like, to say it's that bad, I mean, it's
know,
not great. I'm not going to watch it again. I have no interest in
and
seeing
I
it
don't,
again.
you know,
wouldn't
and I
recommend
felt
it,
similarly
but
about the Ghostbusters remake, the
didn't see
Ghostbusters
it.
film, which was. I'm just saying, like,
Which was
I
our
thought it was a
joke in the
mediocre
show.
comedy, but it wasn't as terrible as ever. Like, it didn't deserve
Right.
the hatred that it got.
Right.
And then
Right.
it's like, well, now we can't make another movie with a bunch of ladies in it because it's not going to do well. It's like
Yeah.
when this kind of shit happens, I start to get this feeling inside that I'm like, that's it. They're not going to let us do another one. You
Well,
know what
that's
I mean?
well with Ghostbusters. Like, I want them to make a second one because I wasn't as impressed as I wanted to be with
Yeah,
that
I
one.
felt that way too.
But it wasn't awful.
I was still amused.
And I would watch if a second one came out.
I would
watch
go see
it
it.
again.
I was amused.
I liked it
Um,
more than the first one because when I rewatched the first one, it was like really sexist, and
I can see that.
I
I've
was
never
like,
seen either Ghostbusters.
Oh, I
We,
love all
we
the
should
Ghostbusters.
do an episode where we watch both of them.
I do love the Ghostbusters. Like, honestly,
I do too. That
I
was one of
do.
my
It's
childhood
something I grew up
movies.
on.
Yeah.
Like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Fuck yeah.
Don't like, but I did see issues with the newer one. However, as a woman, really great to see women in roles that
fucking
I've never
kicking
been able
ass,
to play.
yeah.
However, as a black woman,
Yeah.
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 couldn't do it.
Yeah.
10-13.
No, you were pressing buttons. I was just
sorry.
nervous for you.
Okay. So the last part of this that I wanted to talk about was so with all that in mind, there is a site that is being put up on the internet that's supposed to be a competitor to Rotten Tomatoes. Only female critics. Okay.
Are there any?
No, the site is happening. I don't know if it's
no,
up yet.
I mean, are there any female critics? Like,
Yes.
it's actually, well, it's one of the things that I've read recently is like talking about how more women in film need to go into film criticism because there aren't a whole lot of female
Well,
critics.
I've got some numbers here. So, in 2016, so this all comes from an AV News article that I pulled, and from pretty recently, I think it was last week. In 2016, research at the Center for Study of Women in Film and Television at San Diego State University revealed that 73% of the top critics featured on Rotten Tomatoes are men.
Yeah.
So Miranda Bailey, who's a filmmaker, she
And
produced
also a character on Grey's Anatomy.
Miranda Bailey. Well, yeah,
I'm not
but
kidding,
the
she is a
different
character on Grey's
person.
Anatomy. I'm sorry, that's all I can think of when you said the name.
So Miranda Bailey, she produced Diary of a Teenage Girl and Swiss Army Man,
Okay.
and producer entrepreneur Rebecca Odes created a site called Cherry Picks. It will feature and aggregate reviews from women identifying critics only. So women identifying.
Okay.
That's good.
According to her, Bailey, she says, how can we possibly change what consumers consider good and worthy content if the majority of critics who tell them what they want are predominantly older white men? Some other things here. Bailey made it clear that the site won't just provide a platform for cis white women, a concern that was expressed not long after the news that the launch broke. We're going to be a site for people who identify as women, where men can go to the site as well, but in terms of aggregating reviews, it'll be from people who identify as women. There are a few critics I've met already, predominantly trans women who are professional critics, and yes, they will be included.
Okay.
Does anybody want to hear what the ratings are, just for funsies?
No, I will continue. Yeah, go ahead. And
Well, if you want to talk about that, let's talk about that and then get to this thing, because it's kind of fluffy.
You said you had some stats about how many female critics there are, but all you said was there are 73% on Rotten Tomatoes. But I'm more curious about like how many film critics
I don't know
are
that.
women.
I don't
and,
have that information.
That is something that I've read recently. Like I wish I could remember which it was, but I read an article recently talking about how more women need to get into film criticism because there aren't a whole lot of women who are film critics. Yeah. And like that's part of the reason why we rely so heavily on men's opinions is because there aren't a
Pauline
lot
Kael
of women
was
who
one of
do
the
it.
most famous critics in film history, which she was. I mean, I'm not saying that discount, but I mean, so there have been.
I don't know her, but
she made many of the careers of the all the white men.
All the white men that we know now.
Well, but she was a very famous film critic. I think she might still be writing reviews, but perhaps a site like this would encourage more women to go into.
Yeah. No,
being
yeah,
film
I totally
critics.
agree. And I think a big part of it too is that, I mean, women. It's hard to get into film criticism when you feel like your voice isn't appreciated in those behind the scenes roles, you know, because it's hard to feel like you are taken seriously when your opinion on the creative matters of a film aren't taken seriously.
Right.
And so like, I think this is great. I hope that changes some things because like, I agree. I think there should be more female critics.
Yeah. I
and
definitely
women
think if we're going to have more
critics.
women storytellers, that it makes sense there be more women critics to also balance out the decision as to whether or not this is a good story.
Right.
I think we've seen
we can't allow men to just tell us whether our stories are important or not.
Correct.
We've done it for so long, and men keep telling us our stories aren't important, but women obviously think they are.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and like to the point that was just made on in the article, I think it would be interesting to get a woman's opinion on how we see ourselves in films, especially films that are then created by men, and what the white man perceives us, or how we're perceived as women through men's eyes, and not only through men's eyes, but through white men's eyes, because that's kind of how that pyramid continues to trickle down. It's like we are seen as this through the white man's eyes,
well,
but also
it's more
you know
that too. It's how should you see yourself through a white man's eyes, because every movie that you watch is a white man telling you this is how you should view yourself.
Right.
You know?
The only reason I don't like action movies, and I usually don't see Marvel movies, and of course I went to go see Black Panther because I understood the point, the importance of me seeing it. Yeah. And within seeing that, like I almost cried because I was like, oh my God, I can see myself. Like I'm here, I'm in a movie. My kids can see themselves in a movie. I don't have any kids.
Mm-hmm.
But people like me can like see themselves. And I think that's why I'm most frustrated
this
about
movie
A
is
Wrinkle in
important
Time.
too.
Yeah. Because like it's important for people to be able to see themselves as ingenues. Like I still to this day have told myself I cannot be an ingenue, and it's not because I don't think I'm a great actor. I do think I've studied, I've worked, I know what I'm doing, but I don't believe in type. I am sizely and I look good. Love my boobs, love my butt, love my belly.
I too am sizely.
I don't have the voice necessarily of an ingenue. I don't have the shape of an ingenue. I definitely don't have the skin complexion of an ingenue. And I'm consistently told that I cannot be an ingenue. Yeah. And so it's nice to see people like this young girl is still really fucking skinny. Like,
Yeah.
but like,
But she's
it's nice
13,
to see.
you
Yeah,
know?
it's nice to see a step where like people can start to see themselves in that space where they're consistently told that they cannot be those people.
Right.
Yeah.
And that also goes into being a film critic, like being able to see myself. Like, I would never consider myself being a film critic because where's that space? You know what I mean?
I mean, ultimately, I feel like if we weren't just relying so heavily on old white men to tell us what movies to see, I don't think this movie would have scored a 41%. I just don't.
Right.
I don't think it deserved that low of a score when you look at how other movies are scored.
I agree. And I guess we're all sitting here talking about women in film and being film critics, and like all of us are fucking sitting around as film critics at this point because we have a film podcast. Where we
Yeah, I
can
mean, that's what we're
Right.
doing. That's essentially what we're doing.
We're like, there need to be more female critics. Like,
But
there's
that's-
three
but
of us
that's
sitting around
just-
here doing it.
But yeah, we're doing it. We're
But-
doing it right now.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
And all those people out there listening
Like and
are our
subscribe.
hordes. It will change the tide. Well, thank you, hordes,
Not
for your
whores.
listenership. Not to be
Hordes.
confused with whores.
With a
We
D.
love you too, though.
Hordes.
We do love our whores, though.
That's true.
Thanks, whores.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for today's Lady Bits. The guest's so nice, we asked her back thrice. Follow this month's special guest, Jasmine Waters, on Twitter using the handle @RealLifeByJazz. That's JAZ. And check out her previous episodes on the Feminine Mistake podcast. You can find her in 9 to 5 from season 1, and you can also find her in our episode on Fast Times at Ridgemont High from season 2. Treat yourself to a Jasmine Waters trilogy. Speaking of Jasmine Waters, you can see her in Critical Crop Top's new live sketch show, Critical Crop Top Enters the Multiverse, which opens in just a few short weeks. May 11th, 13th, 18th, and 20th at the Highland Inn Ballroom. Critical Crop Top Enters the Multiverse also stars Cameron Richardson, Liz Shad, John Good, Patrick Morgan, Andy Fleming, Hillary R. Heath, and myself. Tickets are on sale right now for only $10 at our website, criticalcroptop.com/tickets. Did you know that we also have tons of short films and web series available for free on the web? Check out our video page at criticalcroptop.com/videos or download the Thea app. That's THEA. Thea is a new web platform featuring the best in Atlanta talent in the form of short films, documentaries, TV pilots, you name it, they've got it. All Atlanta artists, something for everyone, and totally 100% free. Download the Thea app for your phone, watch it on your desktop, and check out our channel, Critical Crop Top. This might be our last episode on A Wrinkle in Time, but you can continue the conversation with us on social media. You can find us at Feminine Mistake Pod on Facebook and Instagram, or you can find us on Twitter at Fem Mistake Pod. Thank you, Jasmine Waters, for spending the month with us to talk about A Wrinkle in Time. You are truly one of our favorite guests to have on the show, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company. Thanks for listening. Be sure to come back next week when we'll be talking about Amy Schumer's new film, I Feel Pretty, with special guests and fellow podcasters Helen and Valerie from the Falling in Love Montage podcast. Till then, if you've got a bad casting breakdown that you'd like us to read on the show during our Nervous Breakdown segment, you can send that or any other correspondence to femininemistakepodcast@gmail.com.
We're the Vocal Fries. I'm Carrie,
And I'm Megan.
and we have a podcast about linguistic discrimination.
We talk about language, not being a jerk, not judging people for the way that they speak, and we try to have a good time.
We talk about things like vocal fry, swearing, Southern American English, and prescriptive grammar.
You can find us on iTunes or your favorite podcast app.